I think we should begin, should we not? I think we should begin. L'chaim, everybody, l'chaim. Another little advert is we're going to be starting now Monday night classes as well. So not only is your Wednesday nights going to have an hour full of inspiration, we're going to, please God, over the month of November, give you an hour of inspiration on a Monday night as well. So this coming Monday, we're going to be learning about the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the life and times, and connecting to some of his Torah this Monday night at 8:30 English time. And then the following Monday, I'm very excited to announce, a bit of a drum roll is going to be, we're going to do a 4-week series called the Kabbalah of Love. But the good news or the bad news? The good news is you get an opportunity to really interact much more with me because we're going to do it on my Zoom. We're going to do it on my Zoom link. And the bad news, it's not going to be on Facebook and Instagram. It's going to be private, exclusive. You've got to sign up for it. We'll be making the event over the next 48 hours. And it's, especially for those who are singles, it's going to give you literally so much Torah, so much insight, so much wisdom in how to get under the chuppah with your soulmate, from what to look for, to date differently, Kabbalistic techniques, common sense techniques. It's kind of revolutionary. We're calling it the Kabbalah of Love. It's going to be literally life-changing. So I would highly recommend anybody who's single and doesn't want to be single should sign up for that course, starting on the 9th of November for 4 weeks on a Monday night. It's kind of a must, everybody. It's a crazy must. Okay, I think we should begin, don't you? We think we should begin. Any questions till now? Any questions on this week's section? So it's the parsha called Lech Lecha, story about Abraham. And a little intro, everybody, a little intro into the coming weeks of Wednesday nights. Here we go. The story of Abraham and Sarah, and going to be Isaac, Rebecca, Rachel, Rachel, Imenu. We've got to say Rachel many, many times tonight. Say your side. They're not simply the story of human beings who walk this planet. Let's not look at them as kind of me and you like a few thousand years ago. You know, Abraham was born in the year 1948, so close to 3,800 years ago. Chas v'shalom, God forbid to think that they are literally just kind of like me and you. They are part of Hashem's heavenly chariot, says the Midrash. Hein hamerkava. They're literally the chariot that Hashem sits on. Their faces are there. They are kind of a conduit through which Hashem connects to us. They're literally like almost a sphirot, like the pipelines. In fact, that's why each of the avot really embody and master and are the physical sphera of the different channels. So Abraham is going to be the sphera of Chesed. As you know, if you check out what the sphirot are, as you know, there are 10 sphirot, the 3 higher ones, Chachma bin Adat, but the 7 low ones are connected to, spiritual figures that Abraham literally went and connected to the sphera of Chesed and now manifests Hashem's Chesed through himself, almost. So the love and kindness that Hashem relates to us goes via his sphirot, and therefore Abraham becomes part of that channel and therefore channels that love and light. Yitzchak channels Hashem's gvura, Hashem's justice and discipline, should we say, and self-control. And the good news for all of us, everybody, my dear friends, is we're going to learn about tonight. You too are here to reveal Hashem's unique light, but the unique light which is germane to your soul and very specific to your soul. So for Abraham, it was Chesed. Rachel, it was Malchut. We're going to learn about the kingship, about Malchut. But tonight, it's going to be about Abraham, and therefore he's really illuminating Hashem's Chesed. He's projecting Hashem's Chesed. So that's the first thing to understand. That not only are they the Merkava, there's a very famous phrase, which we know called Maseh Avot Simon Labanim, which is the stories of our forefathers literally are a code for the future, which means they're our DNA, my dear friends. We are living our lives the way we're living it because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob lived the life their way. They are DNA. We are capable of kindness Because Abraham was capable of kindness. You are capable of inviting your friend round, if it wasn't Corona times, and cooking them an altruistic meal, even though you're really tired and they weren't well and you want to go and make them chicken soup. You have that ability because Abraham really pioneered that ability of altruism. And therefore, the things we're going to learn about tonight, the journey of Abraham is so relevant, my dear friends, to your journey. They're proper relevant to your journey. Crazy relevant to your journey. And therefore, if you just stay with us for the next 55 minutes, please God, your life can change, because we're going to give you tactics and strategies and techniques of how to succeed in your life the way Abraham succeeded. So that's the kind of little intro. Second point, let's look a little bit at the background of Abraham. So here we go. So really I recommend you always look through the Midrash, because if you just go through the Chumash itself, you just go through this holy book, the Bible itself, is really hard to understand what's going down. You need to look at the backstory. You need to look at the Midrash. If you want to go a bit more higher level, look at something called the Mi'am Lo'ez, which is blow your mind stuff, which I super recommend you do. And let me share with you a bit of the Midrash about Abraham. So here we go. He was born in the Hebrew year 1948. We're now in the year 5781. And the classical opinion, when he was 3 years old, that's when he found Hashem. Can you imagine what you were doing when you were 3? You found an appy. When he was 3, he found Hashem. Which means he was obviously super enlightened. And as a 3-year-old, he was more like probably a 13, 14-year-old. But a 13, 14-year-old on an incredibly high spiritual level. And listen to what he was able to do, says the Midrash. Through looking at the world, he figured out Hashem. He felt Hashem. He saw Hashem's orot. He saw Hashem's lights, says the Zohar. He saw these lights. He saw through the sun how the sun is also projecting Hashem's light. And the moon and the stars and the sea and the sky. He figured out Hashem. He connected to Hashem. Worked out there was only one God, as opposed to the gods. That if you watch your Greek films, you'll talk about here about the gods. It was a polytheistic culture. Nimrod was masquerading as one of the gods and projecting the notion of polytheism. Comes Avraham Avinu and says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's step number 1 in a sense that Avraham brought to the world. The oneness of Hashem. And he was able to do that by literally figuring it out. But it went obviously so much deeper. And just one thing I want to share with you. I woke up this Monday morning. And maybe because I was learning this Torah on Sunday. About how you can literally see through the creation Hashem. And I'll be honest with you. It was unlike most Monday mornings I've ever had. Because it was like another classic, pretty grey London Monday morning. But yet, maybe Hashem just kind of lifted a little bit of his mask for me, but I was able to see through the bria, through the sky, just the beauty of Hashem. In other words, it's so beautiful. This Morabu Masecho Hashem, we say. How wonderful is your handiwork, Hashem. If you really look carefully, if you're in a good place of mind, in a good state of mind, you can just literally see the beauty of Hashem through his handiwork. As King David says, it's one of the greatest ways to see Hashem, looking at the sky, looking even at the grey clouds. I could, see the beauty of the grey clouds. I can't explain. I was on such a high. It was such an amazing morning. And I was reading amongst some Kabbalists that they've said what's going to be like when Mashiach comes. And there was one famous Makubal that simply said, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I won't be able to get over of how beautiful the sky is. Because when Mashiach comes, that's kind of when our blindfolds are taken away. And then you really see what's been in front of our nose the whole time. The beauty of Hashem's creation. But almost like getting even closer. In other words, the secrets of that oneness of Hashem and the providence of Hashem is through his creation. So if you just look hard enough in a happy enough place where the ego is not present and the Yitzhar is on mute, you're going to see the most incredible things. And literally they say they'll know when Mashiach comes, when they look at the sky and they just oh my gosh, I can't keep my eyes off it. It's so beautiful. Kind of the light of Hashem is so potent. So that's something to try and do, my dear friends, which is much harder to do in London, much easier to do in the land of Israel. So that's the first step. So Avram Avinu is like walking around knowing Hashem, but he understands he's not allowed to teach Torah to the world to the year 2000. You know, as the Gemara in Sanhedrin, I think page 96 says, the first 2,000 years of the world, Hashem hid. And then the next 2,000 years of the world, that's when Torah is at the forefront. That's when Abraham from the year 2000, exactly when he was 52, starts teaching Torah to the world. And then you have Moshe Rabbeinu and 10 Commandments, and then the 40 years of miracles in the desert, and then 500 years of miracles in Israel, and the first Beis Hamikdash, which was the highest level of Solomon's temple. Incredible miracles. And then even by the second temple, there was still incredible magic in the air, really, until tragically the destruction of the second temple. But then amazingly, the Gemara says from the year 4000 to now, it's still called the Yemos HaMashiach. You know, Mashiach could have come from the year 4000, and hopefully will come tonight. You know, Rachel Mavakal Bonel, it's Rachel Imenu's Yortzeit. Rachel can really step up and daven, I'm sure. She's davening like crazy tonight. For all the Jewish people and for the world that are suffering with Corona. To change the nega to oineg, the nega which means plague, to change the words around to oineg, as we learned last week from the Noam Elimelech, that through prayer we can change letters. So right now we're going through a tzora, we're going through a stress. We could change that through prayer to tsoihar, to light. And I'm sure Rachel Imenu is going to be doing that tonight, for sure. But I'm sure more important, she's praying for Mashiach. Because once Mashiach comes, then that's it. Just no more Corona, no more anything stressful. Just beauty and unity and oneness. So Avram Avinu is waiting till 52. And up until that time, he's kind of play along. So he's got to still kind of work for his dad, Terach, who's selling idols. And he's also, you know, just selling those idols. But he's like the worst idol salesman ever. Can you imagine, like Abraham, who's the one who's teaching Hashem more than anything, for him to sell the idols, that's like, he's going to get the sack, unless his, you know, dad's the boss. And he was doing everything to try and get the sack. And finally, one day he had enough, and he just smashed up all the idols apart from one, left the biggest one with a hammer in his hand. And when his father came and said, son, now you've really lost it, he said, it was him. And he pointed to the big idol, and his father said, don't be silly. The idols can't do anything. And Abraham said, I've been trying to tell you that forever. Hello. Good morning. And then Terach said, really? Okay, you think you're so clever? Try this. And he went and sent a message to the king Nimrod, who then, Rahman al-Islam, went and took Avraham in this famous, amazing debate, which the Ramban says, really that debate should be in the Torah, because if any of you are interested in debates between atheism and monotheism, Abraham had the best, Avraham Avinu had the best debate with Nimrod, and it's all full of them. The Midrash is, you know, all there. Amazing way to debate. So the Ramban says the reason why it's not in the Torah is because we don't want to have the heresy of Nimrod and of his Torah, lahavdil, right? Of his heresy. We don't want that in the Torah. Says the Chiddushei HaRim. Actually, we don't want to have Avram Avinu's arguments, because the arguments will be so strong, it's going to harm your emunah peshutah, says the Chiddushei HaRim. Which means there should be a little bit of doubt sometimes in life, as we're going to see soon. Life is full of doubt, and then we have to learn to wrestle with that doubt. And says the Chiddushei HaRim that's one of the reasons Avram Avinu's arguments is in the Torah, because if you really, he'd persuade you in a second, and you'd be like the holiest person on this planet if you could see Avram Avinu's arguments. That's why the Chiddushei HaRim says Avraham's arguments isn't in the Torah. But I'm sure you all know the story. It's the second of the big 10 tests of Abraham. Nimrod said, really? You don't believe in the gods? And Abraham says, of course I don't believe, because if you were God, you'd know what I'm thinking. You don't even know what I'm thinking, Nimrod. And Nimrod was like, I'm getting angrier. So Abraham said, okay, so tomorrow you're going to set the sun on the west if you're God. And Nimrod is like, no, you're going to have my God. You're going to meet my God, the God of fire. See how you handle that one. And he threw Avram Avinu, in the Kivshan Ha'esh, in this furnace of fire. And Hashem made a miracle, and angels went and surrounded Avram Avinu in the furnace and learned Torah with him, and he was chilling with him, chilling in the fire. And a few days later, when Nimrod's guards see that Avram's still alive, they're now really freaking out. And Nimrod is like, I'm not going to mess with this kind of spiritual giant, and that's when he asked Avram Avinu to leave. But just tragically before then, Avram's brother Haran, also kind of as a sign of faith to Abraham and Abraham's newfound monotheism, he also jumps in the fire. But tragically, Haran dies, and says Reb Dessler, and this is like lesson number one for all of us. Watch this. Apart from don't jump in the fire. Lesson number one is that for Avram Avinu it worked because he had 100% faith. Haran, it wasn't 100%. He was kind of holding on to Abraham's faith. And because he had a bit of a doubt, therefore nature went and had force. The moment you don't believe in nature, you only believe in Hashem. And therefore the things you want in your life, those salvations you're looking for in your life, try and just 100% give it over to Hashem the way Avram Avinu had that 100% emunah. And that's when Hashem can really come to our help. If we are doubting in our faith, Hashem kind of can't get in. And tragically, Haran died. Any rate, when he's 52, now Avram Avinu is really starting to teach the world Torah. And he was on fire teaching Torah. And I learned the most amazing thing. I don't know if some of you, those are my dear friends in Tel Aviv, know. A few years ago when this great Kabbalist, Rav Hillel, said, Rabbi Hill, I'd like you to start teaching in Israel, going to Tel Aviv. And I said, but my wife's not ready to go there. So he says, okay, you're going to commute. And I was a bit, who the heck? Which rabbi is really commuting? Is it really realistic to commute from London to Tel Aviv? And then I opened up the Midrash and I saw a Midrash I'd never seen before. It said that Avram Avinu commuted for 5 years from Haran to Eretz Yisrael, maybe to Tel Aviv, right? Commuted for 5 years. And my name's Abraham, and I thought, you know what? Hashem is sending me a little message that it's kind of doable. What's up, Shana? Nice to see you. So, and Meryl, thank you for joining, and Rivka. So, and by the way, any step of the way, if you want to ask questions, really happy to be as interactive as you want it to be, with pleasure. So what I'm getting at is Avram Avinu commuted to Eretz Yisrael up until this week's parsha, and that's when this week's Sedra starts in. So if you want to get out your Chumash or put it online, your Chabad.org, and go to this week's parsha, verse 1. This is the parsha. Starts when he was 75 years old. And by the way, he probably didn't look like a 75-year-old like today. He was probably looking very young and strong and vibrant, because remember, he lived into his late hundreds. So he wasn't even middle-aged yet. So I'm sure he was very tall and very strong and one of the wisest men of all time. And Hashem says the following: Vayomer Hashem el Avram. Hashem says to Avram, Lech lecha, go for yourself. Mi'artzecha, from your land. Mi'moladecha, from your birthplace. And Beis Avicha, from your father's home. Ela Oretz Asher Arecha, to the land that I will show you. You all know that verse? So this is now where I want you to be a bit interactive, everybody. Time for you to do some work. What do you think is the questions there? What are the obvious questions from that verse? Because the way it works in the Torah, every word Hashem says, every letter is for a reason. Anything which seems superfluous, seems redundant, is meant to make us ask questions, to try and grapple, to get to a deeper answer. And that's when all the holy tzaddikim come in. So anybody questions on that verse? What's the obvious problems on that verse? Chance for you to write in. So I'll start you off. Lech lecha. In fact, really, if you want to get it as short as possible, it should have said the following. Hashem said to Avram, go to Israel. Done. That was the job. Go to Israel. Just say go to Israel. But it doesn't say go to Israel. First of all, it says lech lecha. What does that mean, lech lecha? Go for yourself. Just say lech. Question 1. Question 2. Why does it say, good, Rivka, finally. Someone's interacting with me. Hello, I exist. Nice. I'm Baruch Hashem, not just speaking to myself. So exactly, Rivka. It doesn't say to Israel. It just says to the land that I will show you. So why doesn't he say Israel? And by the way, Avram Avinu knows Israel well. He's been chilling there for 5 years, doing some teaching. Okay. What other questions? So next question. It starts saying where he should leave from, and says these 3 things. Number 1, mi'artzecha, from your land. Number 2, your birthplace. And 3, your father's home. Now, point number 1, his birthplace was Or Kasdim, and he's left that long time ago. He's now living in Haran. So he's even left his birthplace. So what does that mean? And moreover, why say 3 different expressions? And really just say maybe 1. Leave kind of your land. Leave the land. Leave Haran. Just said leave Haran, go to Israel. Doesn't say that. And moreover, as the Kliyakar, it's got it in the wrong order. It says, first of all, Artzachah, your land, and then birthplace in your father's home. You know, if Hashem was going to say to me, come to Israel tonight, Abraham, or Avi, if he's like, uses my short name, then he'll say, first of all, leave the house, 138 Finchley Lane, which, by the way, you know, you're always welcome to come, post-corona, right? And then number 2, leave Hendon, which is my kind of town, my district where I live in. And number 3, leave England. But you could just say leave England. And that encompasses all 3 of them, so it's in the wrong order. So let me share with you, first of all, Rashi, before we go super Kabbalistic, Hasidish, deep, life-changing stuff. Let me give you simple stuff first. Not simple, Chas v'sholem, the pshat, the surface first. Says Rashi. What does it mean, lech lecha? Says Rashi, l'toivoscha lanoscha, for your good, for your benefit. Meaning, Hashem saying to Abraham, and you're going to gain. So again, I have to imagine, because Hashem's speaking to all of us, the 10 tests that Abraham went through, we also always go through. So there's been a point in your life, and we're going to tell you when that point is soon, that Hashem says to you, lech lecha, or to the ladies, lech loch, right? And you imagine he's with his family, and he's with his friends, and he's with his community, and Hashem says, pack up and leave, just go. So Hashem then says, go and you're going to gain tremendously. Lech lecha, it'll be for your benefit. It's going to be awesome. And how is it going to be for your benefit? Rashi says, you're going to make a great nation there. Over here, you can't have children. There, you can have children. You're going to be famous. Everything you touch is going to turn to gold. Sababa. It's going to be awesome, Avraham. Says, again, the Chiddushei Arim, something amazing. He says like this. Why is Hashem telling him kind of the outcome? That's kind of surely going to spoil the test. If I was to say to you guys, Katie there, so you can see there, Katie, Hashem wants you to pack up your bags, go to Israel tonight, and tomorrow when you get to Ben Gurion, they're going to give you 10 million, not shekels, but pounds. 10 million pounds. If you've got any sense, you'll kind of go, and you'll be excited, and on your flight, you'll be thinking, how am I going to spend the money? Yeah, you'll be thinking that. Says the Chiddushei Arim, that's why Hashem says to Avram, go and you're going to gain. Why? Because if he says go, when Hashem says jump, Avram Avinu says how high, so he says jump and you're going to get loads of money and benefit and success, then it's a little test. Because now for Avram Avinu, why is he going to go? Which is again a muster for us. Why do we do what we do? It's really important we think that, everybody. Why do you do what you do? You know, even tonight, you're listening tonight. Why are you learning Torah tonight? Are you learning Torah maybe because you're bored, nothing else to watch? Or are you learning because like you're waiting to see who else is online, and maybe there's like a really pretty or handsome potential out there that you're going to like message? Or it's making you going to feel good? Or because this is what Hashem wants you to do, you're doing it mamish for Hashem. It's very hard to just do things what we call really lishma. And that was setting up Avram Avinu for the fall. Avram Avinu, go and you are going to gain tremendously in your family. You're going to have children. And Avram Avinu is like, okay, put that on my mind. Irrelevant. I just love you, Hashem. I'm just going for you. And that's Pasuk Dalet. Vayelech Avram kasha debel Hashem. So this is maybe lesson number 1 for you. Let's try and do our spiritual acts, not for ourselves, not for our ego, God forbid, but for a higher purpose, because we're of service to Hashem. That's much more beautiful way to do mitzvahs. No, Avram Avinu did that. But I want to share with you something crazy, something deep, something life-changing. One of my favorite and divrei Torah from a great tzaddik for the Slonim Rebbe, the Nesiv Shalom. And this is the way he explains it, and listen to this. Asks the Slonim Rebbe a beautiful question. Why is it that there's a following Midrash? The Midrash says, 2 times Hashem says to Abraham, lech lecha. He says it over here, kind of leave to go to Israel. But he also says it by the Akedah. The Akedah is when Hashem said, murder your son, which, by the way, that's surely the hardest, biggest, craziest test ever. Abraham's all about love and kindness. He's got to do an act of murder to his son. Forget about it. We can't even fathom that tonight. But the point is, surely that's the number 1 test. Yet the Midrash says, Hashem says, I'm not sure which one I prefer. how Avram Avinu passed the first Lech Lecha, the second Lech Lecha. They're both just as precious to me. That's the Midrash. And the Nesiv Shalom says, really? Be'emet? Are you sure, Hashem? Really? That the test of kind of emigrating to Israel, making Aliyah, which so many of my dear friends in Tel Aviv have all done, that's kind of harder than killing your child, which I hope no one has, if you done and will do ever. And if any of you think God's told you to kill your son, please give me a call, because he hasn't. So, how do we understand this Midrash that that's as powerful as the Akedah? That's as beautiful to Hashem as the Akedah. So here we go. Watch this. Says the Nesiv Shalom. Lech Lecha doesn't just mean go for yourself. It has a different translation, the literal translation. Lech Lecha means go to yourself. Go become you. Go find yourself. Go achieve yourself. Who are you? Go to you. Become you. One of the questions Hashem's going to ask us when we leave this world is, what is your name? And I'm not going to say Avihil, because Hashem's, no, I'm not even bothered to say that. You meant to say the Pasuk. We all have a verse. And speak to me afterwards if you want to know what your verse is, with your Hebrew name connected to your verse. Because that verse really is this energy and the proof, hopefully, if you've said that verse, that you're living your mission. Says the Arizal, listen to this. The Arizal says, we are all here in this world to achieve your mission. And he writes, none of us can fix someone else's mission. So who's watching me? There's Sonia there, and Katie and Rivka. You can't fix each other's mission. Hopefully Hoodie's there. Emma's there. What's up, Emma? None of you can fix each other's mission, or someone else's mission, or your mum's mission, or your sister's mission. You're here to fix your mission. I was speaking to one of my students this week, and she wanted to fix someone from her family. And it's like, you can't fix their life. You got to fix your life. The only responsibility we have, even when you're parents, is to fix your life. That's what we're here to do, to fix ourselves, which really connect to the sin that we did during Adam and Chava. Our role in the sin of the Chet Adam Arishon, that element of ego that we internalized and we digested, we have to fix that. So someone's got a temper problem. You probably had a temper problem all the way back. Someone's got a laziness problem. You've got a laziness problem all the way back. A vanity problem. A revengeful problem. It's probably stemming back into previous lives and previous lives. And your job is to fix it. And if you don't fix it, you're going to come back. Listen to what the Nesiv Shalom says. Like, I would never say that, because say what I'm going to say, because it's kind of, for those in the yeshiva world, this kind of would be too controversial, but he says it. Says the Nesiv Shalom, if someone literally spends their life learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, doing kind deeds, and praying, that hasn't fixed their job, it's not enough. It's not enough. Hashem is going to say, you missed the point. You didn't really do the key point. All the Torah and the prayer was there to help you and assist you achieve your mission. You're here in your life to achieve your mission. We've all got a unique mission. And that mission is to Lech Lecha. And it says the Nesiv Shalom, and here's the answer. The reason why it's as precious as the Akedah, because the Akedah was a one-time only event. A one-time only event. But Lech Lecha, my dear friends, Hashem says it to you every day of your life. Hashem is saying, are you walking the right way yet? Are you going to yourself yet? Are you going on the right path yet? Are you finding yourself yet? Are you moving towards your destination yet? Are you achieving what you're here in this world to achieve yet? And you got to Lech Lecha every day. Lech, Lech, Lech. In fact, the Nesiv Shalom says the word Lech means really go, go. The way to go to yourself is to keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't give up, don't give up. There'll be many times in life where you're going to like, oh my gosh, this is too hard. Too hard. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. That's where you Lech Lech, keep going, keep going. So part of the secret to Lech Lecha is to have that tenacity and the endurance and the stamina to keep going. You know, there was one of my students, he was doing like many young people, I want to go to Thailand and find myself. And he wanted on a mission, he was going to go and find the Dalai Lama. He wanted to get a one-on-one with the Dalai Lama. and he was a good Jewish boy with a lot of chutzpah, and that was it. He managed to eventually get into the Dalai Lama, and he said to the Dalai Lama, you got to give me my mantra. What's my mantra? What's my kind of... And the Dalai Lama said to him, I can see for you in your soul, you're a Jewish boy. Okay, for you, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. True story. And he said, no, don't give me that. I could have got that back in Israel. I didn't come all the way here for you to tell me that. Dalai Lama said, sorry, but that's for you. That's kind of your destination. And he said, Dafka for you. He didn't probably say the word Dafka. But he said, for you, you need to learn how to make Kiddush for your soul. Go and find a rabbi to teach you to make Kiddush. And literally this guy walked in off the street and said to me, Rabbi, I've been sent by the Dalai Lama to learn how to make Kiddush. Why? Because, the Dalai Lama understood that every soul in this world has unique missions. And my dear friends, all of us have a unique mission. The Ramchal explains, let's go a little bit of philosophy, just very briefly. I'm going to try and keep it really brief. Hashem made the world, it says in Derech Hashem chapter 2, to give. The gift is himself, but the way we relate to him, to Hashem, is through a unique path. So as I said earlier, just like Avraham Avinu revealed the chesed of Hashem through the Sfirot, so all of us can reveal a different spectrum of light of Hashem through our lives and our actions and our thoughts. And our journey is going to reveal a unique light of Hashem. So those of you in the healing profession are revealing that dimension of Hashem, the healing. Those of you who are in the defending Israel profession, mission. So you're revealing that nature of the Gabriel, of the Gevurah part of Hashem. Do you know what I mean? We all have a unique aspect, something super unique that only you can fix. One of the ways you know how to fix it is, what are you good at? What does Hashem keep bringing you back to? What is the key part of your journey? But now watch this. Says the Nesiv Shalom that the way to find yourself is what the second part of the Pasuk is. It's not enough just to find yourself. You've got to leave 3 things behind. Number 1, you've got to leave behind Me'artzacha. What does it mean, your land? So, and especially for us. Now let's talk to us. For us to become truly great and to become spiritually great, it's not enough just to do some good things, like to give some charity, do some kind acts. Because then sometimes it could be your ego giving the kind acts or your lower self giving those kind acts. So to find your higher self, Sor Mei Ra. First of all, you've got to leave the ego behind. You've got to learn how to detach. You've got to learn how to let go. Tonight's a class in letting go, my dear friends. I really want you to at least one thing tonight. Okay, I've let go. I've given that up. That's done. That's in my past. No more. And the step-by-step process is step number 1 is to make artzacha. We've got to let go. What does that mean? It's our culture. The Kabbalists say the word artzacha comes from the word rut, to run. Where do you run to which you shouldn't run to? Meaning, there's obviously 2 types of artzachas. There's good artzach, there's Eretz Yisrael, right? There's running to Israel. There's running to spirituality. There's running to shul. There's running to do kindness. But tragically, there's running to lots of other stuff too, right? Someone's running to drugs or running to selfishness and running to ego pleasure, let's call it. That's something we've got to stop running. You can't find yourself if you're looking for other stuff. If you're looking and running towards your Yetzer Hara's wishes. You've got to say, Yetzer Hara, you want to run, you're running, I'm not going that way anymore. I'm going that way. So in other words, you've got to let go of things, says the Nesiv Shalom. You've got to let go of the artzachah. And even just think about it, it can be even just the culture of the country we come from. Meaning to really self-grow. There'll be aspects of the culture, let's say I come from England. There'll be aspects within England, which is nice, maybe aligned to Hashem's morality and to Torah, but there's stuff which isn't. I don't really want to get into what it is, because I think the Chofetz Chaim says you can't speak Lashon Hara about a country, so I'm not going to say that. But let's just say in certain countries around the world, some countries could be known for superficiality. Some countries could be known for being really cold. Some countries could be known for not being empathetic. Some countries could be known for being too materialistic. So if it's a cultural action which is contrary to Hashem, contrary to the Torah, that's something we need to walk away from. To find yourself, you need to disrobe from the ego and from ego actions and ego thoughts, which is getting in the way of your spiritual journey. You've got it. Hashem says to Avram Avinu, the Zohar says, I learned this morning, the Zohar says that Avram Avinu could start seeing lights. He was able to see the lights of the different nations and saw the light of Israel. And he says, what is that light? I can see your light, Hashem. The light you're shining in the area of the temple. And he saw literally the oiros, the lights that Hashem was illuminating in Israel, says the Zohar, says Shimon Bar Yochai. And Avram Avinu says, Hashem, I want to understand it. Hashem says, you can't understand it till you let go of your past. If we want to understand Hashem, if we want to get to a higher level spiritually, we have to learn. You know, we're living in a culture which, you know, we don't like to be told to let go of things like, yeah, I want to do what I want, whenever I want. And yeah, I'll just do some good stuff. But if I want to do some rubbish stuff as well, lama lo, kacha lo. Because if you do the bad stuff, you can't get to the good stuff, the real good stuff. The real higher stuff, we can't get in. Little example, we have non-kosher food that creates what's called timtum alev. That creates a blockage of the heart. And then there's a blockage that we can't connect to the dveikus at a higher level of Hashem that we want to. So we've got to leave the mi'artzecha, the negative mi'artzecha, the next step, mi'meilatetecha. Leave your birthplace, meaning some of your friends, some of your early childhood could be actions and thoughts and philosophies and mantras and a default, which is again contrary to Hashem. If, by the way, you're really lucky and you come from parents who are super kind and super hospitable, so you hold on to that. But if there's aspects, and there's all within all of us, there's good and bad. So within all backgrounds, there's good and bad. So the bad stuff, the stuff which is contrary to Torah, the stuff which embodies ego and selfishness, that stuff we have to learn to let go, which is going to be super hard. And then finally, so is that meaning some of your friends, if they're really toxic for you and they're really harming your spiritual growth and they're stopping you and curtailing you from achieving lech lecha, you've got to lech from them. And finally, and the hardest one, mi beis avicha, Hashem says to Avram Avinu, you want to come close to me, Avram Avinu? You've got anything you learned in your father's home which was contrary to that oneness of Hashem, you've got to let go. And obviously for Avram Avinu that was a lot. But it's deep subconscious stuff that we attach to, we've got to learn to let go. So what I'm saying to all of you, my dear friends, is for you to truly and genuinely find yourself, let go of the garbage, let go of the toxicity, let go of the rubbish which is holding you back, let go of the addictions which is stopping you getting close to Hashem and getting close to your true happiness. And if you've got certain frame of minds and certain ways of, but that's just how I see the world, you need to be objective and step back and say, 1 minute, the way I see the world, do I just see the world that way because my parents do, and their parents did, and culture does, and society does, or does Hashem see the world that way? Does the Torah see the world that way? If it does, then sababa. If it doesn't, then learn to let go of that incorrect perception. If you think, Rabbi Hill, what are you talking about? The Talmud says that we're living in what's called olam sheker, the world of lies. This world. You know, it's elections coming up in America, and trust me, I'm not going to get political. But one thing I can assure you is a lot of the stuff that the politicians are promising, really, don't have to believe it for a second. Meaning, it's a world of lies. People lie. People lie to get what they want. People lie to get elected. People lie to get the White House. People lie to line their own pockets. People lie in business. And Hashem says, that's not the way I want you to operate. I want you to learn to say emes, truth, only truth. It says the signature of Hashem is truth, is emes. So in order, if you want to start saying emes, but you're thinking, 1 minute, but you know, the place where I work, they all lie. And in my family, you can't get by without lying. So I got to lie to get by. Chas v'shalom. God forbid. You got to say goodbye to the lie. Say bye-bye, lie, bye-bye. And then truth. And just because you've done it for 40 years doesn't mean you've got to continue doing it. Rabbi Akiva only began his journey at 40 years. But in order for him to become great, he had to let go and detach. If you want to become great, you've got to let go. Let go of those three things. That's the Nesiv Shalom. That's the Nesiv Shalom. I would like to maybe make it like in my Rabbi Hill way, a little bit more simple, and give you 5 steps to let go. 5 steps to Lech Lecha, should I say. So the Rabbi Hill 5 steps to Lech Lecha are, number 1, as I said, leave stuff, detach. There's got to be this element of detaching. So tonight, if you really want to internalize tonight's Torah, think of what's at least one thing I can detach from. So number 1, detach. Number 2, definitely asay tov. You need to do good as well. You need to really find yourself. After you've done the detachment, then Avram Avinu lived his whole life doing good and kindness and doing mitzvahs and doing what Hashem wanted. So you've got to also do mitzvahs, do good. Number 3, and this is critical, you've got to have clarification. Read the book, Mesilas Yesharim, Path of the Just, from the Ramchal, where he explains in chapter Zehiras how to introspect, how to work out, what am I here for? What is my unique path? What does Hashem want from me? What am I good at? You know, one interesting thing to work out is to think, if you won the lottery, how would you live your life? You know? So first of all, it would be interesting. How many of you would stay in your jobs if you won the lottery? Because personally, I would. Because I believe this is part of why Hashem wants me on this planet. So I'm not doing it for money, and there's not a lot of money and I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because I think this is what Hashem wants me to do. So once you really chap what Hashem wants you to do, you're going to do for money or for no money. And dafka, when you win the lottery, then you can focus it more on it. So a little insight is, play the game. What would you do when you won the lottery? And if it's just like, I'm going to lie on a beach all day and play golf, then that's what the Yetzer Hara wants to do. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of that, as long as it's a kosher beach. But you need to then think, how are you going to make the world a better place? How are you going to illuminate Hashem's light to this world? Is it going to be in the charity sector? Is it going to be in the Torah sector? Is it going to be, as we said last week, you know, this amazing charity that has now helped produce 9,000 babies through fertility treatment? Or is it, you know, defending Israel? Like, what are you going to do to bring out Hashem's light in this world? One litmus test is to ask yourself, what would you do if you won the lottery? Number 4, for Lech Lecha, you've got to do what Avraham Avinu does in a few psukim time. It says, V'hemin b'Hashem, he had emunah in Hashem, he had faith in Hashem. To really let go and to give it over to Hashem. And just to say, Hashem, you're going to help me get there. Which I'm going to explain in a minute. That's also going to help you with your Lech Lecha. I think sometimes to look in the creation, just to look in the Bria. And ironically, you've got to learn how to shut up your ego and shut up your Yetzer Hara. So we know we're going to do a little exercise now, if that's okay with you. Because even now when you're listening, I bet you probably have loads of other screens going on at the same time. Probably some of you are watching a movie, some of you are having conversations. Do me a favor, just for the next 60 seconds, turn off any other screens. Don't turn this off, but turn off any other screens. Just like turn off your thoughts for a minute. Let's just do some deep breathing a minute. You ready to breathe? Ready? Breathe in and then out. Relax. Just let's learn to silence your thoughts, to really be quiet. The Baal Shem Tov says there's an amazing exercise called Havdalah, which is learning how to separate yourself from your thoughts, separate yourself from your emotions, separate yourself from your physical symptoms. So I'm so much into some kind of meditation just to learn for you to start isolating who you are and separating who you are from your thoughts and from your Yetzer Hara. So just relax for a minute. Ready? Relax. Have nothing on your mind. Shh. Nothing on your mind. And in that relaxing now, just start trying to really connect to that oneness of Hashem. So now all there is Hashem. The world of Eino Milvado, the world of I, and the world of, just try and connect to that. There's nothing else apart from this piercing light. Just think of this piercing light. Obviously, we're not allowed to describe Hashem in any way, but just we're allowed to use the metaphor of light. So just start imagining this light. Just get lost in some light. Are you ready now? So breathe, relax, and just get lost in this beautiful light. You there? And then you'll start accessing the real you. The real you isn't your thoughts and your narrative. You know, how many times do you have a conversation with someone, but you translate it into you language? To lech lecha, you got to go to the real you, your higher you. Not the ego you, God forbid. You got to walk away from the ego you to get to the higher you. So that was that. Let's move on. Here's the next part. Then Hashem says the following. Can you imagine Hashem set up Avraham Avinu big time? Hashem says, Avraham Avinu, go, and it's going to be amazing. What happens as soon as he got to Israel? Vayehi rav ba'aretz. Vayehi means woe, oivei. Oivei, there was a famine. Proper famine. Crazy famine. Famine that there's no way Avraham Avinu could stay. He'd have died if he'd have stayed. He had to leave. Can you imagine? He finally is lech lecha from all these things. He's there. He gets into Israel. He arrives. I'm here, Hashem. And Hashem's like, troubled times, coronavirus, issues, tough times. You got to leave. Vahirav ba'aretz. My dear friends, sometimes in life we go through the phase of Vayehi Rav ba'aretz. We go through the phase of Oive. It's tough. It's tough. There's a famine. There's a pandemic. There's a death. There's an illness. There's a calamity, God forbid. There's just tough times. I'm just feeling stuck. There's a Vayihira of Ba'aretz. My dear friends, we need to do what Avraham Avinu did. He didn't complain. He didn't say what we might have said. Why me? Are you joking? I want my money back. I'm going to sue you, Hashem. Like, you promised it's going to be amazing, and now there's a famine. He didn't say that. He said, okay, Hashem, with pleasure. Whatever you do is for the best, Hashem. Learn how to say that mantra, my dear friends. If you learn how to say this mantra, your life is going to be so much better, because that's how to overcome the ordeal. Just to say whatever happens, whatever Hashem does is for the best. Just learn how to say that mantra. And Avraham Avinu said that, and he had perfect faith, and he had perfect trust, and he didn't complain. And we need to learn how to do that, my dear friends. So now the next question is why? Why does Hashem do that? It says, Vashem nisais Avraham. Hashem tested Abraham. Why does Hashem send tests? He's some kind of frustrated examiner working for Ofsted. Why does Hashem send tests? So the answer is very beautiful. It's because he loves you. It's because he loves you. And it's because he wants you to grow and he wants you to lech lecha. And the way you lech lecha it's not enough that you have to leave things behind. You've got to go through tests. So the Ramchal's analogy, if you look in chapter of watchfulness, is his life is like this maze where you're in this maze. Any of you been to this old like English country maze with these like green shrubs and you've got to get to the portico in the middle, but you've no idea because each one's sending you in the wrong direction. The Ramchal says life is like that, but it's in the dark and you're wearing a blindfold. That's how tough it is. But now I'm going to add, but not only that, there's obstacles in the way too. You know, it's a little bit like if you want to get fit. And if you go to the gym, I'm sure many of you go to the gym, you want to get fit, you've got to stretch muscles. About a year ago, as I told some of you, but I couldn't believe it. I thought, okay, Rabbi, enough time to get a personal trainer. And my dear Ilan, sometimes he watches, maybe he's watched on tonight. He came and he said, okay, let's do some stretching, Rabbi. I said, sure, I can stretch. He started stretching me. I've never been in so much pain. Like, I didn't realize stretching is agony. Stretching was agony. What the heck is that about? Why is stretching so painful? Because I was stretching a muscle which I didn't even know existed, and it was creating pain. And I then chapped, wow, that's why Hashem stretches us. Because Hashem wants us to lech lecha. He wants us to get fit. He wants us to become great. The way to become great, we need to be stretched. We need to access muscles we haven't previously accessed. Because Hashem loves us. Why is it called the nace test? Also is the same word nace, which means miracle. Do you know why, my dear friends? Because you get to the point in the test, and maybe some of you are experiencing this right now. You get to a point and you're like, I can't do this anymore. Hashem, you take over. Hashem, only you can help me through this. And then a real test is when you give it over to Hashem and Hashem helps you through it. And that's why the word for test and the word for miracle is the same word, because really it's a miracle because you're letting Hashem help you pass the test. And now you're great. And now you're, as you said, bringing in Hashem's light into this world. You're with me. So that's kind of why we get tested. So next time you get a test, don't say, why me? Don't say, so unfair. Don't say, I'm getting my money back. Just say, Baruch Hashem, thank you so much, Hashem, for that test. Can't wait for you to help me get through this. You know, one of my, someone close to me who's involved in trying to get married said to me, Rabbi Hill, I'm done. I give up. I'm now going to give it over to Hashem. And I said, Mazel Tov! Congratulations. Now you're going to get married. Because till now you haven't let Hashem in. Now you're really giving it over. As King David says, you're casting your lot off to Hashem. That's when it gets super amazing. And Avram Avinu lived his whole life that way. A couple of last things. From the Kedushas Levi, Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev says something so beautiful. Listen up. It's worth coming just for this. This is crazy. The next pasuk said the following. It says, Hashem said, I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to bless you and I'm going to make your name great. And then there's going to be a blessing. You're going to be a blessing. What does that mean? So the Rashi explains, based on the Midrash, based on the Talmud and Pesukim, that the following. I'm going to make you a great nation. So in the Amidah, when the Jewish people are going to daven, they're going to say Elokei Avraham. The next one, they're going to say Elokei Yitzchak. The next one, they're going to say Elokei Yaakov. What does it mean that you'll be the blessing? Hashem says to Avram Avinu, because B'cha Choismin, we're going to conclude with you, Avram. Even though Yaakov Avinu is the one where we get all the tribes from Israel. But yet, for Abraham, B'cha Choismin, with you we're going to conclude. And what do we conclude? The first blessing of the Amidah. Baruch atah Hashem Magen Avraham. The shield of Abraham. We don't say Magen Avot. We don't say Magen Yitzchak. Magen Yaakov, we say Magen Avraham. Why do we say Magen Avraham? What does it mean? B'cha Choismin. Says the beautiful tzaddik, Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev. S'chusa Yogen Aleinu. May his merit really help us tonight. Listen to what he says. He says, because sometimes Hashem is like a Yitzchak. Hashem is portraying the Yitzchak Gevurah right now during coronavirus time. A lot of pain for a lot of people. A lot of pain. And it's not pain just because you can't go to the gym. It's pain because people are dying and dying and dying and dying and dying and dying. And going through horrific pain. It's the time of Gevurah. It's the Midas HaGevurah. You know, I was so excited about Shani Yom Kippur because the Chasam Sofer writes that the year, Tovshin Pei Aleph, Peliyos Arena, I'm going to show you wonders. And I thought straight after Yom Kippur, that was it. Vaccine was going to come, and we go back to a much higher, enlightened life, please God, much more peace and health. And yet it's been tough. So this is the phase of Vayira of Boris. This is the phase of the famine. This is the phase of the Gevurah. And Hashem says, but B'cha Choismin, for Avram Avinu, for you I conclude, meaning I'm only doing it because of love. Avraham is about love. Avraham is chesed. Avraham is that aspect of Hashem, of the love. And Hashem's saying, whenever I even give harmony and balance, which is Jacob, and I give discipline and justice, which is Isaac, but it's only because of you, Avraham. It's only because of love. It's just like the way a parent loves a child. That's the way Hashem loves us. And therefore, sometimes we have to say no to our children. Sometimes you have to give the children to the dentist, and the dentist is going to give them an injection, but it's only out of love. So similarly, even something like coronavirus, to the world, it's out of love. It's b'cha choismin. It's because of love. It's because Hashem loves us and humanity and wants to bring to Mashiach and to fix things. Everything's only for love. You know, one of my students messaged me a few weeks ago. Don't know if she's listening. And she was so sad, so sad. She's like, why does Hashem hate me? Why does Hashem hate me? And I said, chas v'sholem, God forbid. God forbid, Hashem doesn't hate you. Hashem has got no hate and definitely doesn't hate his children. He loves you so much, but he loves you so much. He thinks you're capable of this huge test, which you are capable of. Because if you can just somehow give it over to Hashem, you'll pass that test. So it's something always to think about. The b'cha choismin, Hashem always loves us. And just one last thing, it says, Vela oretz asher areka. Hashem, as Rivka said earlier, why doesn't Hashem say to Avram, go to Israel? Go to the place that I will show you, my dear friends. Do you know why? Because in your life, constantly, Hashem's not going to make it easy. Hashem's not going to give you the manual and say, this is exactly what you need to do to find your journey. Hashem gives you the Torah, and that helps tremendously and gives you a lot of insight, and that's the code. But your own specific journey, the conclusion is, the solution is faith. I will show you, but you've got to trust me, Hashem's saying. If you trust me, you'll get there. If you hold my hand, you'll get there. But I'm not going to make it easy. And that's what Hashem says to us the whole time. El Oretz Asher Areka. The numerical value of Areka, I worked out, was 222, which is the numerical value of blessing. The blessing is when you don't ask to see it in writing, when you just take Hashem's hands and say, okay, take me to the promised land. Take me to where I'm there. Take me to the chuppah. You take me. When we get out of the way and say, Hashem, you take me. I'm going to trust in you. It's going to be okay. I'm just going to say the Tehillim. I'm going to do the cool things and I'm going to get to where I'm trusting you to get me there the way the Jewish people trusted. When we came out of Egypt and for 40 years, Hashem navigated us with Anani Yaakov. If we in 2020 can live our lives the way they live their lives and just follow Hashem's lead, as my sister says, follow the yellow brick road. Hashem sends us the signs and we just have to follow those signs. If you want to know how do we know what the signs are, come to and speak to me later. But essentially they're pretty obvious and they're pretty blatant and they're pretty overt. And if it's not contrary to the Torah and it's feeling right in your gut and your friends and your rabbis are saying it's the right thing, it's probably the right thing. And that's the point. The point is just to trust, and Hashem will show you, but you'll only be shown if you trust in that sight. So that's the blessing. Hashem should help us all achieve Lech Lecha. He should help us all achieve finding ourselves, going to our true selves, fixing ourselves, being genuine and honest and caring about our path, not trying to be like someone else, having the strength to detach from the stuff which has got in the way, from the baggage, letting go of the baggage, letting go of the bad thoughts, letting go of the addictions, letting go of some of the toxic friends, and saying, you know what, I'm looking to live a higher, kinder, more inspired life. As the Eish Kodesh says also, it's not enough just to live a life of keeping the Torah and praying. You've got to live a Romamus life, an elevated life, an inspired life. And please God, Hashem should help us all do that, and that merit will bring Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'meira v'yomeinu. Amen. Any questions? I'm happy to take questions now. I think Instagram's going to go off in a second, but I'll be happy to stay on Facebook and take questions. Any questions? Now chance to hear from you. By the way, if any of you have got some fabulous stories or interesting things, I'm really excited to bring you on screen and share, and because I like to make it as interactive as possible. Remember, Monday night, tune in for the next Monday nights in November. We're going to be doing classes all the way through November on a Monday night, and especially the Kabbalah of Love one, especially for those who are singles. It's going to crazy help you get married super quick with Hashem's help. Any questions, anyone? Any questions? Give me a question, somebody, or a comment, or just, is anyone there? I tell you, it's a bit weird talking to yourself. You know, I could literally go a bit mad like this, so it helps for you to talk back. Natasha, I hope you enjoyed it. I can see you on Instagram there. Nice to see you. Chaim again. Yeah. I don't hear the questions yet. Is anybody there? And by the way, if you're not watching live, because many of you don't watch live, so if you're not watching live, still comment, because then I'm happy to respond. I'm super happy. Nice to see you, Natasha. Please join our Kabbalah of Love class. I'd love to share that with you. Yeah. Any questions? Did I miss anything out? I'm just thinking. Actually, didn't think I missed anything out tonight, for once. So yeah, I'm going to go. If you want, you know my number. You got my Facebook. You can message me whenever you want. Wishing you tremendous hatzlacha. And in Mitzvah Hashem will change this nega to oineg. You'll have a time very soon with total joy and light and happiness in this world. God bless everybody.